the United States of America was the greatest country before Trump, and it's the greatest country now after Trump. The white supremacists want to go back. They want to go back to the days when it was legal to own slaves.
You are about to be entertained by the ape, the young man who has become a legend in his own time. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I love that. You can't handle the truth. Anyway, everybody, it's the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. Sponsored in part by Tasha's Caribbean Soul Restaurant. And use this coupon code POSTC22 and get $5 off your order. It's Tasha's Caribbean Soul Restaurant, Dodge Street in East Orange, New Jersey. It's Ron Kelly Talk Radio program for another Thursday. It's Juneteenth, I believe. Just today, Juneteenth, or tomorrow is Juneteenth. We're going to talk about that Juneteenth nonsense. And should we even be celebrating Juneteenth? Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Plus, the embarrassing. I mean, imagine if Obama had a big celebration of some sort. Like Obama, he's an avid basketball fan. So imagine if he brought some NBA All-Stars, set up a court on the White House lawn, and invited thousands of people, and had like a circus. What Trump's UFC, and he wasn't even here, I don't think. Trump's UFC nonsense, where the Josh Hostic, one of the fighters who won one of the fights, after how they interviewed the fighter after the fight, and he said Michelle Obama is a man. I mean, years removed from office. Was it 2008, 2016 is when Barack Obama left office? And it's 10 years ago. And they're still with that Michelle Obama is a man nonsense. So we'll get into a little bit of that. We'll talk about Juneteenth. And are you tired of being a Democrat? Has it weighed on you about being a Democrat? Are you tired of being a Democrat? We'll talk about that. Anyway, everybody, it's Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. Is Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, WBOK 1230 AM in New Orleans. WBOK is what New Orleans is talking about. And you can check the Ron Kelly Show out down there. All the folks down there, holla at your boy. You can email me, rkellytalk@aol.com. That's rkellytalk@aol.com. One more time, rkellytalk@aol.com. Of course, you can reach out to me on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, however you want to do it. I'm available for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. Is Juneteenth is tomorrow, I believe it is a national holiday. I think it was Joe Biden, because I wouldn't be surprised if Trump tried to rescind that order for Juneteenth to be a national holiday. So tomorrow, the banks and the stock market, I believe, will be closed. Unfortunately, a lot of the businesses don't recognize Juneteenth. It's their right to either recognize it or not. So a lot of the businesses won't be celebrating Juneteenth. And I question that why we even celebrate Juneteenth. Most of you know, Juneteenth was supposed to be Juneteenth is the day that the slaves were freed. Juneteenth. But now, why did it take 3 years for the folks, the slaves? Why did it take 3 years for the slaves to find out that they were free? And you see, you free the slave, but where were the slaves going to go? Where were the slaves going to go? What were the slaves going to do? Because we weren't allowed to read, weren't allowed to write, weren't allowed to do anything. It's supposed to be a holiday that's celebrated on the 19th, which is tomorrow, to commemorate the emancipation of slaves in the United States of America. This holiday was first celebrated in Texas, where on that date In 1865, in the aftermath of the Civil War, enslaved people were declared free under the terms of the 1862 Emancipation Proclamation signed by then President um, Abraham Lincoln. You know, in the United States of America, that's something is as hard as the conservatives work to try to erase the fact that the United States government enslaved people, black folks. And you know, and they're never going to be able to get away from that. The United States of America will never be able to get away. That stain cannot be washed out. There's the United States of America, the land of the free and home of the brave, and all of the other, you know, Star Spangled Banner and all of this, and Constitution, Bill of Rights, which all came after slavery was, by the way. And you know, the United States of America can never get through that. So these other countries, like maybe North Korea, some of the communist countries, Cuba, you know, China, they're like, who the hell are you talking to? You had slaves. We never had slaves. You know, they never had slaves. But the United States of America had slaves. They'll never be able to get away from that. But now, Juneteenth is celebrated on the 19th of June, right? And why did you know? And it's officially it's known as Juneteenth National Independence Day, celebrated on the 19th, like I said. Now the name Juneteenth, instead of June 19th, is called Juneteenth. I don't know if that's because of the because the slaves didn't have command of the English language or what, but it was called Juneteenth. It's still called today Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865. June 18th, 1865 was the day when General Gordon Granger ordered the final enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation in Texas at the end of the American Civil War. So the abolitionists, because now there were folks who didn't want slaves, didn't want slavery, and there were people who fought, white folks. I need to put that in there. There were white folks who fought and died, fought and died for the for the end of slavery. White folks. You know, because we didn't have an army back then. We had no weapons. We didn't have anything. We didn't fight. We just complied. But now, in the Civil War, there were white folks who fought and died. Abolitionists, they called them. They called for the abolition of slavery. They were there. White folks fought and died for black folks to be free. White people. So slavery, it didn't come to an end on that particular day. It came to an end in the various differences. You know, some of the slaves fought with the white folks in the Civil War. Some of the slaves left their plantations and fought. Congress at the time proposed 13th Amendment that was added to the Constitution. See, everything that anything that the Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, all that stuff had to be done through amendments to the Constitution. See, because the Constitution in the beginning didn't say anything about black folks, nothing. So when these things like Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, which they're trying to peel back right now and nobody's paying attention. So wherever the Union Army won, that's when slaves were freed. So slaves weren't freed on that particular day on Juneteenth. It was a series of victories by the Union Army, and that's when the slaves were freed at different times across the country. It wasn't just on Juneteenth. So why do we even celebrate? You know, why do we even celebrate Juneteenth? Uh, Juneteenth is considered the longest running African American holiday. America's second Independence Day, it's been called by some people. I don't know why. Uh, Usually the third Sunday in June. But to get another day off, they put it on Friday. So, so why do we even celebrate Juneteenth? Are black folks actually really free? You know, I can't tell. You know, so, so to, you can't blame all white folks now, because white folks were, helped free the slaves. They fought, they put their lives on the line to help us become free. White people. So you can't say that, oh, white folks, I mean, are all white folks good? Hell, if all black folks good. I mean, who knows? But, you can't say that. But, yeah, Juneteenth. So why? So is it even necessary to celebrate it? What are we celebrating with Juneteenth? You know, because did we actually get free? Are black folks actually free? I would question whether we're actually free or not. I would question that. Are black folks really free? At 12 minutes past the hour. So yeah, I mean, I would say, I tell you what, I would say no, because there's still there's there's racism, there's driving while black, and all of this, shopping while black, walking while black, you know. Uh, right now, the the Republicans are trying to take away our voting districts, majority black voting districts. Right now, they're taking away the black voting districts and turning them into white districts because they want to maintain control of the Congress and the Senate. So they can continue to support the Trump agenda, which I don't think even Trump knows what his agenda is. They're 80 years old. So happy birthday to the president. Yeah, right. But yeah, I just hope he lives because you don't know what JD Vance is going to do. You know, so I personally myself hope that the president lives at least until his term is up, because we don't know what JD Vance is going to do. So yeah, so tomorrow is Juneteenth. I have to work. I'm not off because, like I said, these companies, they do have their, they don't. Some companies will adhere to it. Many of them won't. Many of the companies won't. You know. So yeah, so it's Juneteenth 2026. What do you got planned for Juneteenth? It's like I said, I don't even really think we should be celebrating it because I don't, me myself personally, I would say that black folks were never freed. Not in the real sense. I mean, are we free to you know join in with white America and be prosperous? No. Are there still barriers that prevent us from Wall Street and some of these other things? Yes. You know. So I would say, okay, we're not, we're not kept people anymore. But to say that we're free, I would say no. I would say no. 15 minutes past the hour. So anyway, yeah. So we'll talk. We have more to talk about. Ron Kelly Show is sponsored in part by American Border Fuel Transportation. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the program. But I will say for 46 years, American Border Fuel Transportation has been providing real, safe, reliable transportation to and from your destination. We'll get into that in a little while, in a moment, here on the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. So yeah, so me personally, I don't, I don't see the point of the Juneteenth celebrations. I don't see it. If you want to challenge me, email me, rkellytalk@aol.com, rkellytalk@aol.com, or you can make a comment on the comment page right here on the program. All right, take a break and come back with more of the show. It's the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program, and it's on blogtalkradio.com, the Ron Kelly Show.com. Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
All right, everybody, the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program is sponsored in part by Tasha's Caribbean and Soul Restaurant. Order online and use the coupon code POST-C22, 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 and get $5 off your order. Tasha's Caribbean and Soul Restaurant, located in East Orange, New Jersey. It's TashaCaribbeanSoul.com/order, TashaCaribbeanSoul.com/order, and also thank you to American Border Fuel Transportation. It's been your source for 46 years for safe, reliable transportation to and from the destination. They do school districts, private school transportation, casino trips, family, you name it, family reunions, you name it, American Border Fuel handlers. So you just give them a call, 908-753-6423, 908-753-6423, or email them america.porterfield@verizon.net. That's america.porterfield@verizon.net. Two black-owned, and I'll get into that, black-owned businesses, Tasha's Caribbean and Soul Restaurant in East Orange, New Jersey, and American Porterfield Transportation in Plainfield, New Jersey. It's 18 minutes past the hour. It's Ron Kelly Talk Radio program, and I was speaking a little bit earlier about Juneteenth, and our black folks really free. Why did it take 3 years? Because I'm pretty sure that some of the slave owners knew that slaves had been free, but hey, why tell them? We can keep them under wraps a little bit longer. Why tell the people? So the news about the Emancipation Proclamation signed by the then President Abraham Lincoln, the news was kept under wraps. Nobody wanted the slaves to know that slavery was over. And where was the slaves going to go? You couldn't read, you couldn't write, you were black. What kind of opportunities would slaves have had if they all just walked off the plantation? So many of the slaves stayed where they were. They weren't slaves per se, but they stayed where they were, because where was they going to go? They was getting 3 hots at a cot, place to eat, something to eat, place to live, because the black folks couldn't go out and apply for jobs and stuff like that. You talking 1865, you talk about nearly 200 years ago. Where was black folks going to go? So black people did have no choice. Many of them stayed on the plantation, And me personally, I really don't celebrate Juneteenth. I don't, because what are we celebrating? What are we celebrating? What has has there been a fair outcome to, what has happened in America since 1865 with, you know, driving while black, walking while black, and shopping while black? It's the black folks are still looked upon as criminals and stuff. And then part of it is, I can't say that it's all those people's fault, because we do stuff, and I talk about that often, that we do stuff to make ourselves look bad. We do stuff. Because you got two different kinds of black folks, three different kinds of black folks, and we do stuff to make ourselves look bad. We do stuff. It's 21 minutes past the hour. Yeah, we do stuff to make ourselves look bad. So, shout out to my people on LinkedIn who have been hollering at me lately. A lot of views over there. Thank you so much to people on LinkedIn for listening to the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. So what do we celebrate? Somebody, please, hit the comment button on Facebook. What are we celebrating? What are we, or hit the comment button. If you're on YouTube, you can comment. I can't see the LinkedIn comments, and I get a lot of comments from LinkedIn, but I can't see them. But because I don't have a direct link to LinkedIn beyond the live broadcast. But on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, I can see your comment if you make it. On Facebook, I can see your comment if you make it. What are we celebrating with Juneteenth? I mean, what are we celebrating? What the hell is, were black folks really freed on June 19th, 1865? I would say no. I mean, because there's different forms, but there's different forms of slavery. Slavery comes in different forms. And, are we really free? Do we have a say-so what happens in the federal government? No. Do we have any real power? No. Even when Barack Obama was president, did we have any real power? No. Because these white, conservatives manipulated their way into, the conservatives manipulated their way when Barack Obama was president. The conservatives manipulated their way into taking over Congress and the Senate, and Barack Obama was handcuffed for the last 2 years of his presidency. He tried to nominate Merrick Garland, who was the Attorney General, United States Attorney General under Joe Biden. He tried to nominate Merrick Garland for a spot on the Supreme Court, and the Senate blocked it. Mitch McConnell, freeze frame, Mitch McConnell blocked it, and Merrick Garland never became a Supreme Court justice. So the first black president of the United States couldn't even get a Supreme Court nominee confirmed because the Senate blocked it. So this is what Donald Trump is trying to avoid, because if the Democrats take over the Senate, he's dead. He's dead man walking. No Secret Service. I didn't say he was dead. I said he politically dead. I don't want them to come knocking on my door. But yeah, so if you ask me, I would say no, we're not free. I would say no. I refuse to celebrate Juneteenth because we're not free. Black folks are not free. We're not kept people like we were back in the day on the plantation. We were kept, whipped, chained, made to do things. Wives taken at night, the husbands, some of the gay slave owners were taking, brothers at night, taking them in the shed. I know it's not funny, but I'm just saying, so I would Juneteenth. I mean, it's a significant day. It's the marking of the freedom of black folks in the United States of America. But are we free? And look at them here. Ask yourself. Ask yourself, for the people who, for the folks who listen to the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program, listen, watch, record, whatever. Do you feel like, if you're a black person, you're a black American, do you feel free? Hit me on the Facebook page like y'all used to do. I don't know where y'all went. Maybe I just ain't got it no more. But of course I do. But yeah, you're a black person, do you feel free? Do you feel free? Do you feel free as other people? Because there's levels of freedom in America, depending on what race you are. There's levels of freedom, depending on what race you are. Y'all know that. So it's 26 minutes past the hour. So yeah. So I'm not the first person to jump up and celebrate Juneteenth, because it took 3 years, because the slave owners knew about the Emancipation Proclamation. They knew. They knew that the slaves were free. They knew, but they was like, hell, why should we tell them? Let's keep them. Let's try not to never let them find out. But it leaked. It didn't. I really don't think that the slave owners were such in a hurry to tell the slaves that they were free. I was like, hey, keep them. Let's not tell them. Let's keep them as slaves. They don't know no better. They're like cattle. They no smarter than a cow. So so don't tell them. Don't tell them. And they didn't tell the slaves. The word got out somehow, but it wasn't that the slave owners were coming to the slaves and saying, hey, you're free now. And even if some of them did, where were the slaves going to go? Where were the slaves going to go? There was no infrastructure for the slaves back then. They had, where was they going to go? There was no NAACP or Urban League or any organized, situation where black folks could go and get help. There was nothing. So again, a lot of the black folks, a lot of the people just stayed where they were. I mean, why not? So, it took years. After Juneteenth, it took years for black folks to gain some level of freedom. Some level. Because like I said, there's a lot of different levels of freedom. We're getting the bargain basement freedom. We're not getting the high echelon, highfalutin freedom. We're getting the bottom of the basement. Because again, black folks didn't even know that they were free. But again, where were black people going to go? Where was black people going to go after they got freed, Juneteenth? Yeah, everybody's dressing up in African print garb and making speeches, and you still ain't free. You're still not free. And tomorrow everybody will, dress up and, and make speeches and, talk about what happened, and then go back to whatever it was they was doing the next day on the 20th. So me personally, I really don't be celebrating Juneteenth, because I don't believe that black folks are free. Not as free as they could be. There's still a lot of restrictions on black folks. So all of this Juneteenth stuff, I'm like, okay. Okay. Tell you what, take a break, come back with more of the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. And it's on blogtalkradio.com. everybody. We're back. It's the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program for a Thursday, Juneteenth. Well, it's not Juneteenth. Juneteenth is tomorrow. But yeah. So you know what? I'm you know what? I'm worn down. I'm a worn down Democrat. I'm a worn down liberal. And you know, to be honest with you, I'm tired of being a Democrat. And I never really officially signed up to the, you know, to be a card carrier member of the Democratic Party, but I always lean Democratic. But you know what? I'm tired of being a Democrat. And there's a lot of folks out there who are tired of being Democrats, you know, because the Democrats are not putting anything on the table, you know. And what pisses me off is this transgender stuff, where Democrats and liberals are going before Congress and can't even say, like the lady, Dr. Verma, who was in she was at a hearing, Senator Josh Hawley, Missouri. And she couldn't say, he asked her, it's just a question. Can men get pregnant? I need the video clips of this stuff. I need the video clips. But yeah, but he asked her, can men get pregnant? And she would not say. She would not say, can men get pregnant? They asked her, can men get pregnant? Oh, well, you're trying to conflate. Oh, well, I'll be happy to have a conversation with you behind, you know, this is transphobic. I mean, come on. And it's embarrassing to be a Democrat right now, to be a liberal. That is embarrassing with what's going on, especially with this transgender stuff. You know, but I don't want to pay for gender affirming care. I'm happy with my gender. I don't want to chip in my government money for people to go through this stuff. And then, you know, and the other thing too is you going through all of this stuff, you know. I mean, you can't be a man if you're a woman. You can't be a man. They're going through all of this stuff. They're removing their breasts, you know, getting surgery to make a penis with the skin. Because what they do is they take the skin from your arm. They take the skin from your forearm to make a penis. It is not a penis. How does it even stay alive? Because it's got to have blood. It's got to have blood vessels and stuff. So how does it? I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. You a woman, you a woman. If you're a man, you're a man. You can't change. I hear these men tell me I'm a woman. You ain't no damn woman. You a man. Women don't have penises. So you see Josh Hawley, Senator, Republican, Missouri, is questioning Dr. Verma, and she could not say that men don't get pregnant. She couldn't say. You see, this is just liberal nonsense. You know, I mean, I don't subscribe to everything that Trump does. If I, you know, lean conservatively, there's lots of stuff that they do that I don't like. But it's not because, you know, I'm against it because a liberal. I'm against what's just not right. You know, and a lot of the stuff that the conservatives do is just ain't right. You know, but it's just exhausting to be a Democrat now, to be a liberal, because we do have to cut back on some stuff. We do have to cut back on entitlements. We do have to cut back. I wouldn't say cut back on Social Security because that's what folks have earned over the course of their lives. But, you know, there are some things that need to be cut back. WIC and SNAP and all of this stuff. Yeah, we got to stop, you know, because a lot of people who are collecting this stuff can work. People who are collecting this WIC and all this stuff, a lot of them can work. I see it all the time. I know people personally who are collecting and are physically able to work, just don't want to. They're like, why not? Why do I have to work when the government is going to pay my rent? You know, yeah. Shout out to Mark Fowlers, who says the government owns everyone and everything. Yeah, they have papers. They're right. But you know, we we got to get from under the government, Mark Fowlers. We need to get from under the government. Appreciate you, brother. Love you, man, and all of that. We can't be beholden to the government no more. Like I said, this liberal stuff. I don't want to be. Yeah, personally speaking, I don't want to be a liberal no more. I don't want to be. You know, I don't think we should be paying money for people because if you're going to be transgender, people used to cross dress, back in the 70s and the 80s, when I was growing up, and people would cross dress, men would cross dress, but there was none of this, having an operation, removing your breasts, trying to fashion a penis. And, and the funny thing about that transgender stuff is they talk about it not sex and gender are two different things. That's the transgender model. Sex and gender are two different things. So if it's not about sex, then why change your sexual organs? Why remove your breasts? Why let them fashion a penis out of the foreskin on the skin on your forearm? Because that's where the skin comes from to make the penis. I mean, come on. Come on. You're never going to be a man if you're a woman, and you're never going to be a woman if you're a man. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So you might as well give it up. It's unbelievable, ridiculous. And the Democrats and the liberals are supporting that. I watched the clip today. They were asking the Attorney General of Minnesota. I can't think of his name right now. They were asking him, is it illegal for a person to enter the country without papers, and he wouldn't say. I mean, come on. What is a woman? They won't say. America has to toughen up a little bit. We have to toughen up a little bit. And entitlements is the biggest part of besides military. The entitlements are the biggest expense of the United States government. Now, I'm not saying that nobody should get anything. I'm not saying that there aren't folks out there in need, but there's a lot of folks out there who are not in need who are getting it. And every year I got to pay taxes. Every year I don't get never. It's been a long time since I got anything back from the government. A long time, maybe back in the 90s. It was the last time I got a return. And it's not because I make more money now than I did then, which I do, but it's because the taxes have gone up because of the money that the United States government spends. Now, Trump with this idiotic $1.5 billion gift to the insurrectionist people, I don't think that's going to pass. Besides, there's some other little stupid stuff that they do. But, I mean, come on. Come on. I'm leaning conservatively now. And it doesn't mean that I agree with everything that Trump does or I'm going to spout, because it's the conservative nonsense. But it's hard to be a liberal nowadays. It's hard. It's hard to be a Democrat because Democrats haven't given us anything. What's the last time the Democrats kept the promise? When the last time the Democrats said they were going to do something and they actually did it? It's been a long time. And every year, every 4 years, we line up at the ballot box, voting for Democrats who haven't done shit for us in years. Lip service. Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they just figureheads. They just not even really doing anything. So the last time I was on the show, Louisiana, as a matter of fact, Louisiana, the voting area, the largely African American voting area where my station in New Orleans is located. WBOK, 12:30 a.m. in New Orleans. They just lost there was a majority black voting district, and they changed it. Now majority white voting district. Yeah, they the Republicans stole it, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with what they're doing, but I mean, it's hard right now to be a liberal. I mean, for me, it's hard because I mean, there are because there used to be it used to be for the Republicans it used to be good government, smaller government, smaller budgets. That's what the Republicans used to be before Donald Trump came along. See, because when Trump leaves, they're going to come back to being the Republicans are going to go back to being what they used to be after Trump leaves. Because at one time the Republicans were, smaller government, less government intrusion, smaller budgets. And they're going to go back to that once Trump leaves. But for right now, while he's there, this is what it's going to be. Take a break, come back with more. It's the Ron Kelly Talk Radio Show.
The Ron Kelly Show. Real talk, bold truth. Tune in for your weekly dose of unapologetic conversations that don't dodge the truth or dilute the message. Stay informed on the issues that matter most on The Ron Kelly Show. Every Monday at 7 p.m. on WBOK 1230 AM.
Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
Well, that's good, everybody. It's the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program brought to you in part by Tasha's Caribbean and Soul Restaurant in East Orange, New Jersey. And, of course, Amaker and Porter for Transportation, my longtime sponsor, Amaker and Porter for Transportation, located in Plainfield, New Jersey. Tasha's Caribbean Soul online /order is where you go to order your delicious meal. Tasha's Caribbean Soul online she's going to kill me. And you can, matter of fact, you can use the program code POST C22. That's POST C22, $5 off your order. And of course, Amaker Employer for Transportation. Give them a call 908-753-6423, 908-753-6423, or you can email them amaker.porterfield@verizon.net. That's amaker.porterfield@verizon.net. I got like 50,000 emails that I need to delete. No wonder my computer's running so slow. It's overloaded with emails that I haven't deleted yet. So I got to sit here for an hour one day over the weekend, probably sit here and click until I delete them all down to nothing. Anyway, everybody, it's about 16 minutes before the hour. It's a Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. And I was talking about Juneteenth and why I don't celebrate Juneteenth. It'd be nice to have a day off tomorrow, which I don't, but I don't really celebrate Juneteenth, Mark Follis. I don't celebrate Juneteenth because who are we free? Are black folks free? How free do you feel if you're a black American, if you're listening to the program? And I won't identify you if you don't want to be identified, but how free do you feel if you're an African American? How free do you feel with this Juneteenth stuff? Because, free? Are black people in America actually free? I don't think black people in America have ever been free. Because do you have free access to the enterprise system of America, the financial system? No. No, you don't. So what are we talking about with saying that Americans, Black Americans, is free? Juneteenth. What are we celebrating? That's I want to know what people think about that. You hit me up on the Facebook or YouTube, LinkedIn. I get a lot of response from LinkedIn, but I can't read it. So I mean, not while I'm on the show. I have to wait until I get off the air and then I read it. But yeah, imagine if Trump. Imagine. Oh boy. Imagine if Barack Obama did what Trump just did with this UFC nonsense. Imagine. And see, and here we go with, and you know, just when you thought now, Barack Obama has been out of circulation, so to speak, for 10 years. He became president in '08, left in 16. And he's been off the grid for 10 years. So here comes this UFC fighter, you know, because Donald Trump had the UFC right on the White House lawn. I mean, imagine if Barack Obama did that. They'd be screaming and howling, and you know, and all kinds of bedlam would break out. So Donald Trump allowed UFC, and the guy, UFC Dana White, said he spent $60 million to put that on. Mark Powers, I'll get to your message in a moment. Yeah, but he's at the end of this one fighter, Josh Hytok. Don't feed into the lies that's saying that he got fired by UFC, because you know, up until the time I went on the air, he was not fired by the UFC. But he, at the end of his match, instead of celebrating his match, he yells out, Michelle Obama is a man. Michelle Obama has not been the first lady since 2016. We're talking about 10 years ago, a decade ago. You would think that would be dead by now. You know. And the guy comes back and he makes a speech. You know, I was just kidding with her. You don't even know her. What do you mean you were kidding with her? You don't kid like that. Michelle Obama's a man. And you know what happened when they asked the White House, crickets. White House did not respond at all. Instead of saying, you know, hey, she was the first lady, you disrespected the ex-first lady, the White House didn't say anything. Zippo, nothing. Crickets. Which is what I expected. No big surprise there. Mark Fowler says Black people may be able to experience freedom when we begin to put ourselves first, work together, and stop inviting everybody. And stop inviting everybody to the cookout. Mark Fowler. Wow. And you know what? It put ourselves first, right? Work together. See, because what we do with Mark Fowler is we put ourselves in front of whoever's in the way. We don't put ourselves first collectively. We put ourselves first individually. That means putting yourself before somebody else who's Black too. And work together and stop inviting everybody to go. You see, he's absolutely perfect, absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's about 11 minutes before the hour. Absolutely right. That, you know, Black folks would be a force, even more so than the Jews, more so than the Asians, more so than the Black people. If we came together, we would be a force. Look what it has taken for us to survive in America all these years. Black people are the most innovative, you know, the smartest, maybe not book smart wise, because we don't have access to the Wharton School of Finance and all these places, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, maybe not to the degree of other folks, but Black folks would be a terror in this country if we came together. Because Black people are the most innovative, the most I mean, just the most everything. And black folks would be a force to be reckoned with in America. We would have a lot more power than what we do now. I mean, look what happened with Black Wall Street. Look what happened to black folks, 8, 9 blocks, 10 blocks, whatever it was, where black folks did business with each other. And those areas flourished. You know, and the white folks were like, wait a minute, we can't have them. Because they know that if black people came together and worked together collectively, how powerful black people could be. So when white folks saw what was going on with at Black Wall Street, Oklahoma, back in the day, when black folks worked together, all the businesses were black. See, did that today? It doesn't. I don't subscribe to the black business nonsense today because it really doesn't mean anything. Support your black business. I'll tell you right now, I don't support black businesses exclusively. I don't. Okay, I don't. I go where the service is best. I don't give a damn what color the person is. But back then, it's not as important now as it was back then. Because there's not enough black businesses to go around right now anyway. But black businesses in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the money never left the community. Not like it does now. The black community, the money takes about 8 seconds for the money to leave the black community. But back then, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, where black folks, all different kinds of businesses, cleaners, supermarkets, get your shoes fixed, everything that black people needed was in that community. Now you got to go to the mall. Now you got to go to Home Depot and all these different places. But back then, everything was in the community. And that community flourished. And it scared the shit out of white people. And they were like, oh, wait a minute. We can't have that. We can't have black people, we need them to depend on us. So we can't have them doing business with each other and flourishing and working together because it might start spreading. It might spread across the country that black folks would be working together and doing the right thing. So the white people was like, oh, no, we can't have that. They said, we can't have that. So that's when they went in and they burned and pillaged and killed and raped and did all the stuff that they did. Because they saw the potential of black folks. They was like, oh man, hold up. They can do their own thing. They ain't got to depend on us because the government money controls black folks. Welfare, WIC, SNAP, Section 8, all of those are things that control black folks. That they control us with that stuff. And it keeps us down. It keeps us down. Because black folks who have been on these things for years, they don't strive to do anything other than making sure that rent gets paid. I mean, where are my food stamps? See, and people don't understand that those entitlements are what keeps black folks down. It keeps you down. WIC, SNAP, Section 8, welfare, all of these programs, SSI, all of this stuff is what that's why black folks stay in control of the government through these programs. And people don't understand. They're not trying to help you. They're trying to maintain control over you. So these entitlements, it maintains control over black folks. But that's it. They ain't trying to help you. They're trying to make sure you good. It's to control you. Because as long as you are on these federal programs, just like back in the day, remember the old movie Julia? Not Julia, the old movie with Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones. I forget the name of the movie. And she couldn't even leave a pair of his socks in her house. Claudine, I think it was the name of the movie. And she couldn't even keep a pair of socks in James Earl Jones's socks in the house. And I remember when the lady from the welfare would come to inspect to make sure there's no. She came to inspect the place. They didn't give a damn about your welfare or whatever. They wanted to make sure there wasn't no black man in that house. So all of this is a part of the system of destroying black families, keeping us apart. I don't need you. I don't need no man. I got Section 8. Because black people together, the black families together would be just a nightmare to white folks. A nightmare. So all of these programs, all of this stuff, WIC, SNAP, stuff is designed to keep us down. They don't give a damn about whether you got a roof over your head. The whole point of these entitlements is about control. 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 Just like back in the day when Diane Carroll had to hide James Earl Jones's shoes, whatever he left there, because it was about control. Break up the family. So there's single women, single black mothers. 80% of the households, single black mothers. Those same single black mothers with kids who wind up in gangs, who don't have a male role model in the house. So what happens? They join gangs, wind up in prison. Go look at the roster. Look at what I drive past every day, Essex County Correctional Facility. Probably 90% black people in there. Because the system is designed to bring us down. I don't need no man. That's the black woman's theme song. I don't need no man. Because I can get Section 8. I can get SNAP. I can get WIC. I had a baby by myself. I don't need no man. I'm a mother and a father. You hear that shit all the time. I'm a mother and a father. No, you're not. But see, this is the mentality that they perpetrated, the mentality that they have planted in our community for our women to say they don't need no man. I need no man. I hear it all the time. I see it all the time on Facebook. I don't need no man. You know, so the black family structure has been destroyed by entitlements. Destroyed. And this is where we're at. Most of our kids are in prison. You know, single parent household don't do it. You need a mother and a father. All y'all women out there to be talking about you a mother and a father, you're full of shit. Because you're not no mother and no father. That boy need a man. You know, I'll share something about myself next time on the program. It's about 45 seconds before the hour. So I'm going to break out of here and maybe go have a cigar or something. But yeah, come on. We got to, you know, this government, the United States government is doing everything they can to keep us from being together. And we got to begin to understand that it's the government that's trying not to keep us together. And I'm probably going to have more interruptions on my Facebook post next week than you can believe. But believe it, entitlements is destroying the black family structure. All right, I'm going to get out of here, everybody. It's about 18 seconds for the hour. Thank you so much for joining me, Mark Fowler, and all the other people who hit me up. So I like to say it's nice to be important, but it's much more important to be nice, in that we may not have it all together. But together, as Mark Fowler said, together, we can definitely have it all. Thank you so much.